Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar today. We are talking about careers in cybersecurity. I'm Anu, the founder of Stimulus Coaching. We provide coaching in the areas of career and business to enable people to achieve their goals. And over the past few weeks, if you've seen, we've been conducting webinars on various career topics such as data science, software development, life sciences. You can find the details on the information box below. I would like to welcome our panel for today. We have Gautam Kapoor, who is the partner cyber risk cybersecurity at Deloitte Asia Pacific. And we have Benny Evant, who's a technical account manager at iZoologic, a London-based startup in the cybersecurity domain. Welcome both of you to our webinar today.
Thank you, Anu.
Thank you, Anu.
Great to have you on board.
Pleasure.
So we're talking about cybersecurity today, and it's becoming, as we are living, largely digital lives, conducting transactions online, connecting with people globally, and doing a whole lot of our business online. So our existence and our data is available across data centers which are located across the world. Data is in transit globally. So really, we're putting out a lot of information out there while we try to make our lives easier. And this can, of course, fall into the wrong hands. And really, cybercrime has become an increasingly concerning topic. And just this morning, I was reading about this cyber attack that's happening on the Australian government's websites, and how it's very organized nation-level crime, and what really started as possibly a pastime and a recreational hacking and just for some monetary gain. Today it's evolved to institutional espionage, terrorism, national security challenges, and it's become a hugely complex topic, and a lot is at stake. So I'd like to just, in terms of a bit of data, companies now are spending huge amounts on securing their data, their networks, and the spending is forecasted to reach about 133 billion in 2022 as per Gartner. Hackers are attacking every 39 seconds on an average 2,244 times a day, and data breaches exposed 4.1 billion records in the first half of 2019. So, and a lot of this was financially motivated. Only a quarter was motivated by espionage. So there is a lot of this activity which needs to be controlled and monitored, and hence a lot of careers have emerged around this field. And I'd like to invite some comments from our panel today. Gautam, if you could tell us a bit more about what you're observing, working with your clients and with the industry in terms of the cyber criminal activity itself and the solutions that they're asking for.
Yes, I know. So you're spot on in terms of the statistics which you mentioned, and yes, they are a bit concerning. And believe you and me, these statistics have only increased over the last 5 to 6 years exponentially. So if you see the number of events or breaches, if I may say so, which have happened over the last couple of years, they've really zoomed. And almost every other day, you will hear some or the other breach, which is happening. The front media, the print media, the online media is all full of these, challenges which organizations are facing because of, insecure systems or data not encrypted, or data just flowing, outside the perimeter of, the organizations. The thing which has enabled this, Anu, and we need to very carefully evaluate, is earlier the businesses were usually having perimeters. So they were very internally focused. They had their organizations, their networks, their firewalls, and they were everything, installed on-prem. Today, that perimeter is just dead. So data is everywhere. You're reliant on your third parties. You're reliant on your business partners. You're reliant on cloud, your SaaS-based providers, and so on and so forth. And this has really increased the complexity in terms of, where your data is flowing, what do you need to protect, and so on and so forth. given that today even the digitization has now increased manifold, so everybody wants to digitize, everything needs to be automated. You look at the industrial automation which is now happening, so those are getting automated, those are getting connected to the internet. So while we had only the IT setup, now you have the operational technology setup which is also now getting online. So you can imagine the amount of disruption somebody can cause by an insecure system. So security has really become mainstream today. It's a board level topic. I have been part of a number of these board meetings where the chairman of the board has been asking, hey, how secure my systems are. And today they're asking how secure my OT systems are, which is operational technology. So my manufacturing line, they're all automated, they're all connected. So how secure those systems are? Those are very valid questions right at the top of the organization.
Right. Thank you so much, Gautam. And so, Benny, would you like to share some insights in working with your clients, which I believe are largely financial services? Am I right?
Yeah, so we work mostly with the BFSI sector. And these sectors are prone to, like you talked about, a lot of phishing attacks, a lot of abusive on their brand name across the web. They have a lot of client-facing applications. If it's their website, their mobile application, their social media pages today are a very good source for communicating with them. Even we see online, on Facebook, more and more bank operations can be done. And once, if you had to go to the bank today, you just open a chat box and talk to the bank in the various ways it allows its clients to talk to them. And unfortunately, this ease of access for the clients is also making the life easier for the scammers or hackers, if it's in the case of a country level attack, right, that you were discussing before. But when we mostly try to counteract these attacks against the organizations by detecting these threats and removing them from the web. So when a client is talking to his bank or to his insurance agent, he's talking to him and not to a scammer. We have to find these things that are just growing all the time on the web, and you put one down and just two more come up across the web. So it's a real constant attack on the brand itself. And what we see is, besides the financial loss that the bank itself and the clients suffer, we also see how the brand name itself is abused and harmed. So maybe next time I won't work with that specific bank, even though it's not their fault. I pressed the wrong link. So I would be reluctant to work with them, and I'll look for another competitor of theirs. So there's also that point of view of losing business because of your brand isn't as protected as your competitor. And I'd like to, Gautam said something about the vendors you work with. And it's very important to note that today we see a lot of threats or a lot of data leaks happen from these vendors. So maybe I, as a bank, have a very good security and I hired a good company to secure my services, but I'm actually sending all this sensitive data to someone else, and he does not do the same level of security as I do. So that's where a lot of companies are coming in to add this level of security to our vendors as well. I think that's a very important point these days.
So if we were to say, what are the top 3 priorities in terms of protection and security that companies are seeking to build? What are the areas that are like the top 3? Is it their financial data? Is it their customer data? Is it their brand? What is it? Or the continuity of service? What are the top few things that they're seeking to protect today?
I think the way we look at it is you look at it as their digital assets and their IT infrastructure. So you want to protect anything that's online and available to basically the world itself, who can access this data. Their website has to be available to the world. So that's a digital asset that has to be protected. Yeah. But then we also have to protect their IT infrastructure, their data points. And that's where you would put in, it's a different level, a type of security, basically. These are 2 different layers that you're looking at. One is exposed to the outside world, and the other one is internally used, but can still be hacked and abused as well. So that both of them have to be protected.
Okay, thank you. So Gautam, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I know apart from what Benny just mentioned, I think another critical assets is the entire operational technology line today. If it's all digitized, means that your actual manufacturing line could be at risk from these hacks. And when I'm talking about manufacturing lines, this could impact your entire business cycle, because it's in the entire OT world, it's actually about availability, right? You want to have to make sure that your production line is up and running, and in some cases safety measures as well, because you don't want that gas to be leaked or a boiler to be blasted and suddenly there's safety issues around it. So those are other elements which are actually making things very, very complex in the cyber world today.
Right. Thank you so much, Gautam. So we know that this world is, the job market is really big for cybersecurity professionals, and according to some estimates by Frost and Sullivan and the ISC, there's about 1.5 million unfilled positions in this year itself, and that it takes about 20% longer to fill these kind of roles. So from October 2018 to September 2019, it seems that there were 270,000 openings, but only 112,000 were employed. So there's a big shortfall in talent here. And so what do you think are the top technical skills somebody needs to have in working with this complex technology, the networks, the security protocols? So what are the top few things that come to mind, Gautam, that a technical person would need to have? We will talk about the other skills a bit later. So
sure. I know, I think the basic for any cyber professional is a fundamental understanding of the technology landscape. So when I talk about technology, every cyber professional should understand how IT works. How does a network really work? What is the basic TCP/IP protocols? How does a packet communicate itself? How does it go from router A to router B? And then the other areas like, today you have the entire cloud infrastructure, the virtualization, the containerization, which is happening. And the third element is the entire coding aspect, right? So a lot of the vulnerabilities today, which the hackers exploit, are right in the code which you put in the application. A very fundamental understanding of coding and coding principles is important for a lot of the roles in cyber as well. And this, I feel, are fundamentals. So once you have these fundamentals right, you can then go and learn more niche skills in the cyber areas.
right. Okay. Benny, anything you'd like to add?
First of all, I agree the basics is always what you would need almost for any job. And I believe even in jobs that are non-technical related, or sales or accounts, or even a SOC analyst could use those basic skills, and that will help him to approach his clients, which would be CISOs or other technical level people who have done the same kind of training. If he has this background, he will be able to have an eye-to-eye conversation with them, and not just from a sales point of view. He's not just another salesman, but he's done at least some kind of security work or coding, or he would know what he's talking about when he's coming to sell it.
Yeah, and I think universities are taking the pains to ensure it's multidisciplinary. So these degrees in cybersecurity, there's usually a bit of digital forensics, there's law, there's network management and cloud basics. So I think it is they're making the effort to bring together a few of these aspects, and because it's cross-jurisdictional, you're talking, what is the definition of cybercrime across jurisdictions? How do you trace a crime? How do you prove a crime has happened, etc.? So apart from the technology, it's actually going into crime as well, and the law aspects. So CyberSeek is an organization which has put together a lot of details about career paths, and I would just like to share over here some of the career paths that they've laid out for people.
I know while you pull the the map out, just a comment.
Yeah, sure.
you mentioned digital forensics, right? And I just wanted to mention, even for digital forensics, the fundamentals are understanding of how the data is stored in a magnetic stripe. Now
Yeah.
that's basic IT, because you need to know how that is stored for you to actually take that data, out for a forensic analysis. So it's so for most of those stuff, I would say a basic technology understanding is very important.
Yeah, correct. Absolutely. Okay, are you able to see the screen from CyberSeek now? Yeah,
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
various circles. So what they've done is they've defined these entry-level roles, which is cybersecurity specialist or technician, and crime analyst, and then industry analyst, responder, and then IT auditor. And then essentially they're showing the career paths that they would lead to at the mid-level. So there's cybersecurity analyst, consultant, tester, and similarly, so for each role, actually, there's drill down available of where it leads to and what are the salaries, etc. Similarly, for the senior level, like going on to architect, consultant, all of that. So, and there's these positions, the feeder roles could be from networking, software development, system engineering, financial risk and analysis, security intelligence. So there's a lot of data available here. And if we click on one of these, we can see what's the average salary. It's 98,000, let's say, for IT auditor. And what's the titles commonly available? How many percentage carry a bachelor's degree? How many carry a graduate degree? What's the top certifications requested? So it's fairly detailed for anyone who wants to drill down. So let's take cybersecurity analyst here. The average salary is $95,000. Certifications requested, CISSP, SANS, CISA, etc. So there is, this industry is fairly organized, it seems to me, and a lot of detail is available. Would you like to talk about some of these roles here? Like, let's talk about, let's say, an analyst, a crime analyst versus a security analyst, and then maybe a consultant. So Gautam, would you like to take that?
Sure, Anu. So I think firstly, let's pick up the feeder roles, Anu. And the feeder roles, as we've just spoken about, are really about how somebody who has networking understanding can then migrate into cybersecurity. Now that's very important because you have some fundamentals in place when you move into the next role. Now, I think CyberSeek has put in a good view in terms of how to look at these roles which are there in the market. There are other views also available in terms of how those roles have been defined by various other organizations. The analyst role is really a basic starting level roles. Analyst could fit in multiple streams within cyber, so you could have a SOC analyst. Now, the SOC analyst is really Security Operations Center analyst, is the guy who has his eye on the screen and is looking at incidents really, and is looking at how incidents are flowing. What does he catch in terms of log analysis? What is that malicious traffic which is coming through various logs channel, and then highlighting it for further investigation of whether an event or a breach has happened, or something which looks really wrong, which has happened. So those are analysts at that level. When you say cybercrime analyst and investigator, now these are the forensics guys. These are the guys who will, in case of a breach, they will go and look at what really happened, and then try and investigate some of those areas around that. So these the analyst level, these are really very key roles. And when you move to the next level, it's really like a SOC analyst moves to a SOC supervisor. He's then doing more of the triage in terms of whether that particular event has really been a breach or not. And then when you start moving to a more advanced level, you start getting into a more of a space where you need softer skills as well. So a cybersecurity manager who has evolved in from analyst to a supervisor to an administrator, of course, needs more of a softer skills to manage a team, to manage communications, and to convince the senior management about what he's trying to do, right? So those skills also at the advanced level start to come in.
Sure, yeah. So, like you touched on the softer skills, there is enough data and surveys available that are showing that actually recruiters are finding it hard to find the right mix of the technical and softer skills.
Yeah.
So what are some of the softer skills you think are a must? Gautam, first you, and maybe then Benny, if you'd like to add thoughts to the same questions.
I think they're very there are very basic stuff. I know it's frankly it's very common sense that what would from a security perspective, what you need to have. Uh, so first and foremost, communication skills, very important, right? A lot of our technical team members typically concentrate on a lot of technology stuff, and they are unable to therefore put in a context. So you've got a vulnerability and you say, hey, I've got a SQL injection vulnerability, and now you go and explain that to your business owner, and he doesn't get a he doesn't even understand what is SQL injection. So you need to get to that business context of really what is happening here. So what is that SQL injection really doing?
Yeah.
You need to convert that into a more business context for that person to really understand and appreciate what you're bringing to the table. So communication skills is very important. I also value a lot of influencing skills. You need to be able to influence somebody on your particular things. Team management. Today security, the teams are becoming a lot bigger, so you need to be a people's person to manage some of those things. Some of the roles, I must admit, needs critical thinking as well, Anu. And that is where you really need people who can think out of the box, because you need to be innovating over and above what the hacker is doing. So you need to be a step ahead of him. So you need to innovate. You need to think critically and innovate different ideas. So you need critical thinking in some of the roles as well.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. Benny, I know you work with, teams across the borders, distant teams. So what is your experience of, what's lacking, or what would you like to see more of?
So I think, of course, the soft skills Gautam has mentioned are very important for each cybersecurity professional. But I think if you want to move ahead from working as part of a team or just a SOC analyst, you have to grow some skills such as service provider. A lot of, a coder may just work with his laptop all day and not talk to many people or to a client. In security, you many times explain what's going on. You may be talking to a client that is very stressed out because he was just hacked and he has a big security problem going on, and everyone's talking about it in the news that he was hacked and he had a data breach. And you could just imagine how these corporations start going crazy, because it's a fire inside their building and they have to put it out. And that always comes down to the security professionals trying to put out that fire, and everyone's when are you gonna fix this? What happened? Who's at fault? There's a lot of different questions being asked at a time, and you have to know to navigate these answers and be able to give the confidence that you're doing a good job and explain what you're doing, as Gautam said, because sometimes it's hard to explain what happened to your managers, right, or to your client. And we usually see, we always envision IT providers or people who do cybersecurity as someone with a hoodie staying in a dark room, and they don't really talk to anyone. So that comes from this ability to find all these different threats is very complicated sometimes. But we need to find those people who can do both, or at least have the ability to understand one side and then do the other as well. Another thing I think is very important to have is kind of a tech savviness and tech hungry ability to learn all the time. You can't just be a professional in web security. You have to know mobile applications. You need to know infrastructure, IT. The threats come from different areas all the time, and someone can hack your website from a different area as well. So where is the threat coming from? It doesn't have to come through that tunnel you're expecting. And by this critical thinking that Gautam mentioned is very important, to be able to think like the hacker and see where is he going to come from, and then to be able to anticipate this ahead of time.
Right. Thank you so much. So yes, we agree. There is a room for having soft skills and technical skills here, and you can really excel if you're having both on your platter. So today, universities are really offering, on the technical side, of course, specialized courses, and they're offering a combined course with a more generic, on a generic platform like cybersecurity with business computing or cybersecurity with network security, and then a specialization could be in the masters. But if people are very convinced they want to do cybersecurity, then there's a whole raft of universities offering specialized courses, 3 or 4 year, and you can straight away jump into cybersecurity if you're clear in your head that that's where you want to go. So I think we come to our end of the session for today, and I'd like to thank you both for your time. Any other words of advice you'd like to give to people who are listening in, people who are seeking to make a career in this field?
I think I would say, Anu, stay focused. There is a lot which you can do in cyber. What I found is professionals take up cyber because it's a hot topic, and they probably just think in the middle part that this is not of interest. There are a number of other areas within cyber. If you start exploring and start becoming expert in that areas, it's a very fruitful career for professionals. So my sincere advice is stay focused, and 2, do not neglect soft skills. Absolute must. While the technical skills are the fundamentals, the soft skills is what will get you dollars. Is what I can say. While the technical skills will get you in, the softer skills will get you dollars.
Thank you. Benny, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think we shouldn't be afraid to start at the bottom. A lot of times, entry-level jobs in cybersecurity are part of a SOC team. This could be a shift type of job where you're coming in maybe in the middle of the night to your place of work, and some people who are maybe changing their career path would maybe not want to go into this, as this is the kind of the demand. But to get to know the client's view and where in working in a SOC environment will really bring you in to see these different level of threats, where they're coming from. And then maybe from there, you could choose where to branch out to after you've seen a bit of the cybersecurity world. And really, like Gautam said, the sky's the limit where you could take your career to.
Right. Thank you so much. I think it's been a very valuable discussion, and people will find it of use and deploy it in their careers. Thank you again.